In an intense and shocking moment, Robin Gibb, one of the famous Bee Gees, finally said something that many people had long thought. At age 61, Robin told the truth about something that had been kept secret for years. This shocked fans all over the world and made them want to know the whole story. There were for years. There are rumors and whispers going around about Robin Gibb's personal life and work. Some people thought his story might have more to it than it seemed. Now, Robin's statement talked about the problems and struggles he had behind the scenes that most people didn't know about. It was a turning point that fans who had looked up to him for a long time were shocked and heartbroken. What could have been kept secret for so long? What problems did Robin Gibb have behind the scenes that could have affected his music and life? Come with us as we look into this famous singer's hidden story. How it all began, the beginning of the Gibb brothers, who would later be known as the Bee Gees, get their start in a small, strange place. In 1955, Barry, Robin, and Maurice Gibb moved to Chorlton-cum-Hardy, a neighborhood of Manchester, England, with their family. They were born on the Isle of Man in the late 1940s. This is where they started making music, not because they wanted to be famous, but because they loved it. Together, they started a skiffle and rock and roll band called the Rattlesnakes when they were young. Barry played guitar and sang lead, Robin and Maurice sang lead, and their friends Paul Frost played drums and Kenny Horrocks played the tea-chest bass, a homemade instrument common in early skiffle bands. At first, it was just fun for kids to play around with the cool new sounds of rock and roll. But in December 1957, something happened that made their lives different. Like other kids had done in the past few weeks, the boys planned to lip-sync to a record at the nearby Gaumont Theater. It was a chance to stand in front of a small group of people, have fun, and sing. Sad to say, though, bad things did happen. The song they were going to lip-sync to broke while they were running to the theater. They had no other plan after the fragile 78 RPM shellac broke. The Gibb brothers, on the other hand, are not the type to give up. So they didn't cancel the show, they chose to sing live anyway. This wasn't an easy choice. It's both exciting and scary to sing live in front of an audience for the first time, without the safety of a recording. There was magic in the air when the brothers opened their mouths and started to sing together. People really liked it. Their lives. The performance got a lot of positive feedback, which is when the brothers knew they had something special. This moment set them on the path to becoming singer-songwriters. The Rattlesnakes broke up in May 1958 when Paul Frost and Kenny Horrocks quit, but the Gibb brothers didn't give up. Instead, they got back together and made a new band called We Johnny Hayes and the Blue Cats. Barry going by the stage name Johnny Hayes. This August 1958 was the start of a new time for the family. In order to start over, they left their home in England and moved to Australia. The family has moved to Redcliffe, Queensland, which is northeast of Brisbane. Their older sister Leslie and younger brother Andy live with them. They had no idea that this move would be the start of the most famous band's rise to fame. Barry Gibb, Robin Gibb, and Maurice Gibb were all very young. But it's clear that they love acting. They started singing everywhere they could to make extra money, no matter where the people are. Radcliffe Speedway was an unusual place for one of the first stops. Bill Good, a racer and speedway promoter, saw the boys. During the game, let them have fun with the other people there. This event wasn't very pretty. It's a start, though. During races, kids often sing in the back of trucks as they drive around the track. The fans loved them and brought a lot of money to the stadium to show it. It's not just about money, even though they agreed to keep what they had taken. It's also about the thrill of playing, being heard and seen. But things really changed when Bill Good put the boys in touch with radio host Bill Gates in Brisbane. Gates was interested in the brothers and saw what they could become. He gave them the name Bee Gees with Good and Barry Gibb, which is a mix of their first names. The new name is short and easy to remember, even though many people later thought this name wasn't. The letters line up that way by accident. It wasn't meant to be used as Brother Gibb. The boys aren't just singing on the motorway to make money. They also changed their name to the Bee Gees, which quickly spread around the world. There was more to them than just three brothers with a dream. It's important to know about them in the music world. A number of years after beginning in a humble way, the Gibbs began to make their own way slowly. Their name isn't known around the world yet, but they are determined to get there. In the meantime, they found work at a number of places along the coast of Queensland. These gigs were very important to the Bee Gees' growth as a band because they helped them develop their sound and find their own personality. They had their first small taste of success in 1965, when a song called Wine and Women came out. People talked about them because of Rise to Fame, even though it wasn't a huge hit. It was this song that helped the group get their first record. The Bee Gees sing and play 14 Barry Gibb songs out there. Even so, they lost their steam. Festival Records, which signed them through its Leadon division, was getting impatient by 1966. The Bee Gees weren't selling as many records as the record company had hoped, and they were on the about to be dropped. The Bee Gees might have been done for good at this point, but fate had other ideas. During this time, the boys met people who were important to them. Nat Kipner is an American businessman, musician, and producer. As of right now, Kipner was the AR manager at Spin Records, a brand new independent record company. He had faith in the Gibbs family and thought they were special. A short Kipner became their boss and was determined to make things better for them. Kipner arranged a move from Festival Records to Spin Records from a business point of view. It was a dangerous choice, but it would be a big deal in the Bee Gees' success. As part of the deal, Festival Music will still be in charge of getting their music to people in Australia. The two boys have started over, though. The Bee Gees met someone else. Ossie Byrne is the person through Kipner. Byrne was a great builder and engineer. Byrne started recording early songs with Kipner because he believed in his brother's skills, just like Kipner did. A lot of these songs were made at Byrne's studio, St. Clair Studios, which was built just for him in the Sydney town of Hurstville. It's not a fancy workshop, but it's a place where talent can grow. Each brother put everything they had into these things by recording songs that would help them become famous in the future. At the same time, the Bee Gees kept trying to break through bigger barriers. They could fail on the road ahead because it is unclear. This is finally starting to help the boys, though, as Kipner and Byrne show them the way. The Bee Gees were in a make-or-break situation. They are ready to fight for their place in the music world. The Bee Gees' lives changed in February 1967. It was cold and not sure what would happen. But now is also a hopeful time. The Gibb brothers tried out for Robert Stigwood, a big name in the music business. Stigwood is known for seeing promise in people. Being liked by him can take someone from unknown to famous. It was such a success at the audition that the Bee Gees signed a 5-year deal with Stigwood almost right away. It's a big deal. The deal says that Polydor Records will put out the songs in the UK and Atco Records will put it out in the US. It was their ticket to fame all over the world. There were other Australian bands trying to make it big besides the Bee Gees. But now they're famous all over the world. He didn't stop there, though, having his big plans for the brothers and has started a huge effort to support their first album released in other countries. He told everyone with confidence that the Bee Gees were the most important new singing group of 1967. That was a big claim. It makes room for something beautiful and thrilling to happen. People started to compare the Bee Gees to the Beatles right away, and both brothers felt the weight of those expectations. This is a long-term goal. It's time for the big games. Before you start recording with their new record, the Bee Gees needed to reach more people. They got two important new members, Colin Peterson and Vince Maloney, to join the group. The boys are all set to take over the world. There was a mysterious feel to the beginning of their next British hit, New York Mining Disaster 1941. Radio stations were sent copies of the song with white record labels that were blank and only had the song title on them. The Bee Gees were not talked about, and the record company did not have any information on it. DJs then started to guess who the band was that was making the strange song, with some thinking it might be a new Beatles album. That's when everything began. New York Mining Disaster 1941 quickly became a big hit after the DJ played it nonstop. The song's mysterious atmosphere and catchy tune make it interesting. The Bee Gees quickly made it to the top 20 in both the UK and the US. The boys were having a great time. It had taken them years of hard work, but now they were being compared to the biggest band in the world and having their first real taste of worldwide success. The Bee Gees were ready, even though there was a lot of pressure. They were ready all the time. This was the start of a trip that would take them to heights they could never have imagined. They were becoming known around the world, and nothing could stop their rise. The Bee Gees' trip wasn't easy. A big tour across the U.S. in 1968, the band was about to start a big 7-week tour across the U.S. This was at the height of their rising success. The times were set, and people were getting more and more excited about their shows. But in July 27, bad things happened just days before the show started. One of the group's main speakers, Robin Gibb, collapsed and passed out. It was a scary moment. No one was ready for it. Robin was quickly moved to a London nursing home. He was labeled with nervous exhaustion by the doctor. Too much stress was on his mind and body. Everyday worry at work also makes a difference. The band couldn't go on their American tour because Robin was too weak to do anything. It was Both brothers took a big hit, but family has to come first. The group tried to move on once Robin got better. They started making their 6th record with sessions at the famous Atlantic Studios in New York City. Robin was still sick, though, so he couldn't join them. Barry and Maurice left the band with the rest of the members, recorded songs in concerts with instruments without him there. But there is something missing. There would be a hole in the exercise without Robin's voice. The air has weight to it. They seemed to know that this was a big moment in their story. At first, the record they were working on was meant to be a masterpiece. Masterpiece shows how much they've grown as artists and how much they want to do. That being said, this record changed as the meeting went on, and the brothers ran into problems. The end result was a double CD called Odessa. Odessa was different from anything else the Bee Gees had ever done. It was the right mix of progressive rock, country, and beautiful vocals. Lyrics. Numerous people think it is the best thing the Bee Gees ever did in the 1960s. The haunting title track and songs like Melody Fair, First of Me and Marley Pert Drive, a country anthem, show how talented and good the band is. But even though they were praised, there were problems in the group. Kept going when First of May was picked as the album's single. People in the UK like it. It got to number 6 on the charts. But Robin strongly disagreed with this choice. He thought Shades of Light, another song, would be on side A. The fight made things very bad between the brothers. And by the middle of 1969, Robin was done. He chose to leave the Bee Gees and go solo because he felt betrayed and left out. The job. Everyone in the music business was shocked when Robin left. The Bee Gees, a group of brothers who had been singing together since they were kids, are no longer together. There is no way to know what will happen next. And Bee Gees' future is not clear. Is it possible for them to go on without Robin? Can this group make it through the personal end? A problem at work? It was a big moment in the history of one of the best shows ever. Before Robin went off on his own, things were tense and unclear for the Bee Gees. They chose to go ahead without Robin, but it wasn't easy. Barry Maurice and drummer Colin Peterson made the choice. They started making their next record, which is called Cucumber Castle. The Bee Gees' new record was a start, but without Robin's voice, things felt different. An important London club called Talk of the Town was where they played their first show as a trio without Robin. They missed more than just their brother, though, but also to fill in the blanks on stage while he was gone. Surprisingly, the band asked their sister Leslie to join them on stage. It's only a short-term fix. But it shows how far they were ready to go to protect the Bee Gees. Leslie's presence changes the group in a strange way. But Robin's absence is still a big deal. At the same time, Maurice is having a hard time figuring out who he is in all the chaos. He started making his own record called The Loner, but no matter how hard he worked, this record was never put out. He put out the single Railroad and got the lead part in the West End musical Sing a Rude Song, but his music was like a band stuck in limbo. But Maurice couldn't seem to get anything to work. The feeling of not knowing got worse. It was also Barry's turn to find his way. He started putting out single albums. He also worked on a project that never came to life, though. It came out, the song I'll Kiss Your Memory, but the people who heard it didn't connect with it. Barry, who used to be the face of the Bee Gees, had to deal with the harsh truth of being on stage without Robin's harmony. His solo work has a hard time making an impact. Change. Even though the rest of the Bee Gees seemed to be stuck, Robin had a great time on his own. A lot of people loved his song Saved by the Bell. It got to #2 in the UK and did well on the charts in Australia and Europe. It was a sad and happy time. The older brother who left the family was doing well. People who stayed behind were upset, but Robin's album Robin's Reign made more people aware of him. He's also the only one who seems to have been saved by the bell. The difference was very clear. It was hard for the Bee Gees to stay popular, but Robin's star was growing. Is this the end of the Bee Gees? Do the boys ever get back together? The Gibb family was going through a rough and unclear time. No one knew what the future held. Something strange happened in the middle of the 1970s. Barry Gibb was on holiday in Spain when he began to think about everything that had happened. Whether it's stress, disagreement, or doubt. Then Robin called him right away. After being apart, Robin said, "Let's do it again" is a strong but easy message. From what I could tell, the boys would not be apart for a long time. On August 21st, 1970, they officially got back together, and Barry proudly announced, "The Bee Gees are flying over there. They will never be split up again." It was a moment to remember. The meeting was full of hope, promise, and the chance to start over. Maurice also spoke up to clear things up, telling Robin, "I'm sorry for what I said when we broke up." That was a true act. The Bee Gees got back together, ready to take over the world with their music. This showed that the brothers were ready to put aside their differences. Their get-together paid off right away. Their 9th record came out at the end of 1971, Trafalgar. This record did really well. They came back with the song How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, though? This song makes me feel a lot. It shows how they looked into failed relationships along the way. It was the first #1 hit in the United States. Bee Gees got their first Grammy nod for Best Pop Performance by a duet. They also won over a lot of fans, or a group with singing. They are once again in the news. It looks like the storm is over now. There was a new Bee Gees single called Run to Me in 1972. It was from their album To Whom It May Concern. For the first time since their ordeal, the song made it back to the UK Top 10, which was a big deal after all the hard times they had been through. It shows that people haven't forgotten about them. Their music still has the power to get people to listen. On the other hand, they look like they can't be stopped. When the Bees' record Life in a Tin Can came out in 1973 on Robert Stigwood's new label RSO Records, they reached a new level. There were high hopes. It wasn't the case with the album, though. The lead song, Saw a New Morning, didn't do very well at all. It rose to a dismal 94th place. This is very clear, compared to past wins. What they had gained in speed seemed to be lost again. The Bee Gees are going through yet another tough time. In September 1976, the Bee Gees launched an album that would change everything for them, Children of the World. Bee Gees' comeback this album marked a turning point in their music, having a brand new sound that no one expected. Barry Gibb's falsetto voice, which had been newly found, became the centerpiece of their songs. Alongside this, the music was filled with exciting, fast-paced disco beats, brought to life by the skillful use of synthesizers. It was a sound unlike anything the Bee Gees had ever done before. The first song, You Should Be Dancing, did very well in the music business. Stephen Stills writes songs and his rhythm section makes. The beat of this song makes it stand out. It was well liked, and it made the Bee Gees famous all over the world. They reached a level of fame that had never been seen before. But not everyone is glad. Some ex-boyfriends who like softer, sweeter songs are unhappy with the Bee Gees' new dance style. But there's no doubt that they've found something new that would set the tone for years to come. Following up with Saturday Night Fever, a song that would go down in music history, the Bee Gees weren't just into disco, they were disco crazy. There are a lot of songs from their albums. They've been so successful that it's hard to believe it. For their work on Saturday Night Fever, they got 5 Grammy Awards in just 2 years. They seem unstoppable, and people love their music, with people from all over the world. But as soon as the disco started to go down, it started to go up again. Disco was taking a back seat by the end of 1979. People are sick of it with this, and the disco age, which used to be very cool, started to end. Goose B got into trouble while riding the waves to the top. Their jobs in America started to fall apart, and the fight against disco hit them. An image that seemed untouchable not long ago is slowly going away, and no one knows what will happen to it next. The Bee Gees had another rough year in 1983. This time it's a storm of law. Ronald Sell, a artist from Chicago, said that the Bee Gees stole his song Let It End. He said that they used parts of their hit song How Deep Is Your Love. The case went to court, and at first the Bee Gees lost because the judge said they hadn't brought in any experts to defend themselves against the claims against them. Things don't end there, though. After a few months, the ruling was changed, and the Bee Gees were found not guilty. The Bee Gees reached the top of their fame, but their career was like a roller coaster with wins and losses, only to have their success take strange turns. Something very interesting happened in Las Vegas on the night of November 14th, 1997. One Night Only was the name of the show where the Fly Gees played. This is going to be their last live show. The air quality was electric as fans crowded into the hall. Barry, Maurice, and Robin are planning to end a part of their lives with this one exciting night, because they know it might be the last time they see the famous trio perform together. Their classic hits made the show magical. But there was one part that really scared people. Andy Gibb's voice was rough when they sang Our Love, Don't Throw It All Away. Even though Andy has been dead for a long time. But his voice fits in nicely with the live show. He felt like he was back with his brother. It was a disturbing and beautiful piece of writing to honor their brother. After that, Celine Dion, with her strong voice, shocked the crowd when she joined the Bee Gees to sing Immortality, her presence along with the Feelings. It was even more memorable because of how heavy the night was. The Bee Gees said that this would be their last live show, which is where the name One Night Only comes from. Barry has some unique health issues. The band also thinks this is the last show on their tour. But something amazing took place that night, and the huge amount of love and energy in the crowd could not be overlooked. The Bee Gees felt like they had a magic link with their fans. Barry made the strange choice not to make it to the end, even though he wasn't feeling well. It meant so much to them that they chose to go on a full world trip. There was only one night when the music, cheers, and love from the crowd giving them a new spark. But they wouldn't always enjoy playing together as a trio. At the Love and Hope Ball in 2002, the Bee Gees played their last show together. It was a night full of the same love and unity that had been in their music for decades. No one knew at the time that it would be the last time all three boys would be on stage together. Then bad things happened. It was January 12, 2003, and Maurice Gibb died all of a sudden at age 53. He had a heart attack while he was waiting for emergency treatment. Everyone was shocked by the news, and his brothers Barry and Robin were very upset. Maurice was the center of the Bee Gees. He always kept the group on track and made them laugh. His death. It was the end of an era. The Bee Gees were no longer together as a band. The famous harmony of the Gibb brothers used to be heard on that stage. Now it was empty. Their trip, which had been full of both joys and sorrows, had come to a heartbreaking end. The brothers who were still alive agreed to change the name of the group. On a terrible night in February 2003, the Bee Gees were once again in the lead. Everyone watched as Barry and Robin Gibb went on stage to take the Grammy Legend Award, which is one of the highest honors in music. Even though the purpose of the moment was to honor their amazing accomplishments, it had a sad undertone. Maurice was the Bee Gees' heart, but he was no longer with them. As Maurice's two brothers accepted the award with tears in their eyes, Adam, Maurice's son, joined them on stage to represent the family living with his dad. The crowd could feel the sadness, the music's history tied to the death of a beloved brother. It was a moment that showed how great they were and how sad they were. Even after years had passed, the loss of Maurice was still very heavy. But in February 2006, something amazing took place. Barry and Robin saw each other again after Maurice's death. The event wasn't for a world tour or a big show, it was for a cause close to home. They played at a charity event in Miami that raised money for the Diabetes Research Institute. The crowd was electric with excitement because they knew it would be the first time the leftover Bee Gees would perform in public. The sound of their words. It was like hearing something from the past when they were together again, even without Maurice. Their music seemed to hold on to the magic of their friendship. Then tragedy struck again. On November 20th, 2011, the world learned that Robin Gibb, who was only 61 years old, had been told he had liver cancer. Fans had been noticing for months that Robin had lost weight and looked weak. He had canceled a number of events, all while fighting the disease in silence. His health was getting worse, and everyone was sad to see it. By April 2012, things were getting worse. Robin was taken to a hospital in Chelsea right away, where he got very sick with asthma. It was bad news. He had fallen into a coma. Everyone in the world held their breath, including his family and friends. After that, a spark of hope. Robin finally woke up on April 20th, 2012. For a moment, it looked like he might make it through, like the Bee Gees' unbreakable spirit could help him get through it again. But the hope didn't last long. His health quickly got worse, and on May 20th, 2012, just 1 month later, Robin Gibb died. There was a death in the Gibb family, and Barry was the only brother left alive. The famous trio. Robin's death meant the end of an era. The Bee Gees, who were the best singing group of their time, were no longer together. Even though Barry had lost so much, he kept going. He went on his first solo tour in September and October 2013, but it wasn't just to perform, it was also to honor his music with his brother's family, and for a long time. It was a salute to everything they had accomplished together, from the beginning to their huge fame. In 2016, a new part of their story came to light. Capitol Records made a deal with Barry and his brother's estates to make sure that the world would always be able to hear the Bee Gees' classic music. Their melodies, chords, and voices will always be remembered and heard thanks to Universal Music. Over 120 million records had been sold by the Bee Gees. They have sold a lot of music around the world, making them one of the most popular acts ever. You couldn't deny how much they changed the music world, and their songs would always be remembered as proof of how talented they were and how close they were. That kept them together, even when bad things happened. They were the most popular trio in modern music history, and they always will be. But there was a story of friendship, loss, and a legacy that would never go away behind the music and the fame. If you like this video, please click the next button and share it with your friends.